What's up, Morning Manna team? We're going to dive into day number 2 of this little series of Morning Mannas where we're focusing on kind of the focal point, the crux moment in the story, the Book of Esther in the Bible. You know the story. Haman has this plot to kill the Jews. Mordecai gets winds of it. He recruits Esther to step in and help save her people. And I think this moment, these series of moments in Esther chapter 4 and Esther chapter 5 are the key to the whole thing. And so yesterday we talked about the idea that you have an enemy. In Esther and Mordecai's sense, it was a guy inspired by the enemy of all of our souls, but it was a guy named Haman. And so Mordecai recruits Esther. You read in the first part of Esther chapter 4, Mordecai's like, hey, you got to step in and you've got to help us out here. And Esther responds, and her response is fearful. Her response is, I don't know. Her response comes from a place of lack. She recognizes, hey, I got a problem. I should have the king's ear. I'm his wife, but I haven't been called in 30 days to come into his presence. And so she can't just go in and say, hey, king, I need your help. She needs to be called to him, and then even bringing it up is kind of going to be a touchy subject. So I was reflecting on this, and I was thinking about her circumstance, and there's so much I feel like we gloss over in some of these stories. It's true that Esther is this incredibly beautiful lady that's recorded for us in Scripture, and it's true that she's so very clever in how she works out the whole story. She does a great job. But it's not a bad thing to recognize where you lack. She goes, I shouldn't have access here. And she's dealing with a husband who's an incredibly insecure guy. If you look at the rest of the story and you go all the way to the beginning, we only meet Esther because he has deposed his previous queen Vashti because she defied him. She wouldn't do what he wanted. And so sometimes I feel like we give Esther a pass, like, no, she was so pretty, she could just walk in, it would work out. But Queen Vashti was just as beautiful as Esther was, and she had been thrown out. This was a very real spot where she didn't necessarily know this was going to go her way. She did have this place, I'm calling it lack. I think that's the right word. And I don't think it's wrong of us when we recognize there's something big that God has for us, or something we desire from Him, or something that we're hoping to see. It's not always a bad idea to recognize where we really are today. You see that in the Psalms. David, hey, this is how I'm opposed. These people are against me. Joseph knew where he stood. He knew he was a prisoner. He's not hiding that fact. We see over and over these places in Scripture, Moses said, hey God, I'm not good speaking. I've got a stutter. I've got some difficulties. It's not wrong to bring our difficulties into the presence of God and see them in an honest way. We just need to understand that our lack is not a limitation when God is in the picture. Mordecai is going to help Esther see that. Yes, I know that your circumstance may not be ideal, but God still has a plan. Here's my encouragement. It's okay to recognize where you might be behind the 8 ball or what might be said against you. But understand that lack is not a limitation when God's in the picture. God bless you, man of church. See you tomorrow.